Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Red-Rupee here. Welcome to another episode of Fitz RupeeCast featuring Dawn of War 2 Retribution. Got a nice solo game. You can see we're on Outer Reaches here, looking at the remaining bombed-out foundation of what used to be the central building in this map. We're going to go ahead and take a quick look around. Everyone knows Outer Reaches. We got the contested victory point far out, and the natural victory points right in front of each player's base here. Looking there on the mini-map, you can see both those locations. And other than that, you got a couple rec points up along the side. Everything kind of goes up to the side and comes to a head right here in the center. So let's take a look at our players. We've got Hamduck here as our infamous apothecary. We'll take a look at him in some nice fancy ultramarine armor there. Not a player I'm familiar with, but apparently a pretty good one. And then on the other side, the red pieces, we've got Texaneous as our abominable hive tyrant, leading the Tyrannid swarm. So let's get this game on the road and see where this takes us. Should be a pretty good match. I love watching Tex as always. I'm a big fan of his play style. Never too afraid to try out some wacky orders and really see how he can put all the different units to work here. Generally just an all-around fun player and pretty well-mannered too. I always appreciate that. And as I said, Hamduck I'm not too familiar with, unfortunately, so we'll just have to see how he goes. We can see he's moving right up here, grabbing the VP early and taking the power with his scouts. Meanwhile, Texaneous grabbing this central contested power and then spreading out slowly throughout all his natural points here. We can see the tactical marines moving in on these Hormagaunts, trying to grab this central power, but it looks like Tex was just waiting for it and has those Hormagaunts chasing right in on those tactical marines and pushing them away. So Hamduck pops his power node right off the bat and moving his scouts up, capturing the rec points. Not too much off-the-wall play going on here. You can see the double Termagon brood for Texaneous, and Hamduck sticking with just the first tack for right now, trying to get his power up and running. Oh, and Tex pops the node right as the tacks move in for the cap, so that's either going to delay them. Good move on Tex's part. Makes Hamduck either decide whether he wants to leave the tacks down here and lose the map control while he tries to break this power, or he's going to have to go ahead and let Tex have it, which he doesn't want to do early game. As Space Marine, you want to keep the power as much as you can, especially in Tier 1 when versus Tyrannids you're at your biggest disadvantage. Hamduck's main job is just going to be to protect this natural power node, and if he can get this one, that'll be great, but it's not necessary right now. These tacks will probably be just fine against these unupgraded Hormagaunts with the Apothecary nearby. Yep, Tex recognizes that and gets the heck out. Looks like they will be able to pop this node right back down and capture this point, unless Tex really wants to try to do a little more harass and pop it back up. But he does not, and Ham gets the capture on that. Meanwhile, we can see one power node probably going for, oh, he's grabbing himself a Devastator, actually. Normally when you see just the node and the one generator with Apothecary, that pretty much screams that they're going for the Assault Space Marines. But instead he's going to bring a Dev onto the field. Meanwhile, Tex has gone ahead and gotten himself a Warrior Brood, which we're seeing a lot more often now that the Raveners have lost their Devourer upgrade in Tier 1. Warriors have been kind of making a comeback here, and Tyrannid players have been really trying out to see how they can work those out. So this Devastator going to be very useful in holding this power point. They can normally set that up down in this area and either face upwards or downwards to protect any incoming attacks without much issue. So this power isn't too bad for holding. This bottom one tends to just go back and forth, as we've been seeing the Hormagaunts and Tax just battling here. Looks like Ham's gone ahead and decided that that's not worth the time and effort of his tactical marines. He really needs to get them out on the field. And we can see Tex grabbing himself a third Termagon brood, so going a little heavy in Tier 1. He can afford to do that. If you look at the map right now, it's very red. Hamduck only having one of each of the three types of points. He's got his power, wreck, and victory point right now, which as Space Marine is fine to start the map. He's going to have to push out eventually, but early on you just want to hold that power, and even if you go into Tier 2 with a bit of a VP disadvantage, you can generally bring it back. So you can see a perfect angle on this Devastator, being able to take shots at both the southern and northern entrances into this power farm. Heal on the Tactical Marines who are taking constant barrages from that Barbed Strangler Warrior Brood, which will prove very useful against the current makeup. And an excellent flank by Tex's Hormagaunts coming down and around up behind that Devastator. An excellent push from 3 different directions. You see the massive ranged army, then the Hive Tyrant moving in from the middle, and Hormagaunts coming in from behind. Just an excellent play. You can see Hamduck brings those Assault Space Marines jumping right into the fight here and hacking up some Hormagaunts. Not going to get many models, but those Assault Space Marines will be critical to dealing with this Barb Strangler Warrior Brood. Once they get tied up, the Tax and Scouts can really move in and start dealing some damage. Unfortunately, one of these Termagant Broods is upgraded with its Venom Sacs and is able to slow them and prevent them from pursuing the Barb Strangler. So right now, Tech's not building much power. Obviously, he built a lot in Tier 1 so far, and as you can see, he's putting that to good work, getting lots of map control, and there goes the last bit of Hamduck's power. Hamduck's doing a little bit of a tricky capping down here with his Scouts, who've been upgraded with shotguns, grabbing that contested power point back, trying to get any little bit of map he can right now. Those Scouts certainly not going to be able to hold up to this kind of ranged firepower anyways. These Assault Marines getting pretty low. The Apothecary is probably coming in for a heal, but he looks a bit low on mana. That Barb Strangler actually doing some pretty reasonable damage when it hits all 3 models. And the Tax coming in from behind, getting some melee action in. With 2 of those squads engaged, 1 squad of Termagants isn't really going to do much to that heavy infantry armor. So Tex decides to go ahead and get out of there. Pretty good play by Hamduck, managed to ultimately take no losses there and keep everything on the field, which is exactly how you want to play with Apothecary. That's his primary moving force, that's his advantage, is that he can just keep all these heavy squads out on the field without taking much loss. So we can see the Hive Tyrant lumbering back into the center here, and they're going to go ahead and scare away those 2 range squads. Meanwhile, the Assault Marines are bashing away at this power up here, and both players have gone ahead and upgraded their power nodes, or their primary power farms to capacity. All 3 generators up for both players. Tech's having a bit of a power advantage right now, it looks like. Not much of one, but a bit. This power node in the center not quite going down. The ranged forces of these Termagants coming in and scaring off the Assault Space Marines for now. You can see they're kind of just hanging out in the center here where there's lots of cover to hide behind, and Tex can really try to isolate these Assault Space Marines from any support. So let's see what's going on. The Hive Tyrant down bottom getting a little overextended there, getting caught between the Scouts and Tactical Marines. Meanwhile, the Devastator Cannon lost a member but managed to suppress the 3 Termagant squads, taking another hit there, but another heal from the Apothecary keeps them right in the fight. And the Assault Space Marines scared off the Venom, sorry, not the Venom Cannon, the Barb Strangler Warrior Brood down there. And those Assaults are not going to be able to deal with 3 squads of Termagants with their Venom Sacs. So the Devastator is set up, probably going to move in on this ranged blob here. Meanwhile, the Scouts and Tax being used on their own to just try to get some map control back. Been doing a pretty good job, Hamduck, of keeping his army in 2 different task forces, leaving 1 for battling and 1 for capping. With the Apothecary down, you can really do some excellent damage with some minimal output. He is floating a lot of wreck right now, probably trying to wait to get into Tier 2 here. Tex has gone ahead and gotten himself an extra generator, pretty confident he's going to hold that, I suppose, right now against the current Space Marine forces. Now you can see kind of moving back and forth, maybe trying to bait this Apothecary, and here goes another Assault Jump combined with the Scout shotguns knocking those Venom, sorry, not Venom Cannon, Barb Strangler Warriors over, preventing their escape from their melee. Meanwhile, the heavy Devastator moving in from behind, and Tex is going to go ahead and get out of there. Meanwhile, he's going to keep this Hive Tyrant in and just tie up, maybe try to get a model kill on these Tax, and just, you know, keeping the Hive Tyrant in the enemy's face is just always a good strategy. As you can see, you have to commit at least 2 squads to deal with this big guy, and that just prevents Hamduck from getting any kind of map control, having to commit both either his Tax and Scouts or Tax and Apothecary, whatever it is. You pretty much don't want the Assault Space Marines fighting this guy. That's just a lot of attrition you don't need to take when you can kite with ranged units. There goes the charge. You can see the Hive Tyrant was upgraded with the extended carapace and just moving right back in, getting a couple shots and a special attack on those Tactical Marines. And now the Tex is Tier 2, blazing the trail ahead of Hamduck. Looks like we've got, oh, a Ripper call in. I wasn't sure if that was going to be Warriors or Rippers. but going for the Ripper call-in right there. And excellent use of that. Scared off the Devastator and ultimately forced back Hamduck once again. Rippers, of course, now coming in with the without number call-in for 100 red and a measly 50 wreck. So I don't know if he's playing and just sacrifice these for the sake of getting some map control. You can see with this massive amount of squads, if you just look at the mini-map right now, just red dots swarming across every point on the map. So it looks like Tex is just going to go ahead and let those Rippers fall, just trying to buy some time, keep Hamduck from moving out across the map. Meanwhile, the Hormagaunts didn't even bother reinforcing them, possibly intentionally. He's just going to let them go ahead and whack at that power node down there. Meanwhile, the Hive Tyrant's gone ahead and upgraded to the Crushing Claw as well, which gives him some nice damage and heavy melee to go along with that. And the Apothecary with his Mastercrafted Bolter and some improved medical equipment coming in there to give him some energy regen to help with that healing. So the Hive Tyrant, of course, immune to suppression, but not immune to damage from that heavy bolter, so he's going to have to go ahead and back out of there. The Scouts given a nice little shotgun blast to those Warrior Broods, and the Salt Marines jumping in on a big pile of Termagants up top. You can see they've been upgraded with their Sergeant giving them the Merciless Strike ability and a nice bit of HP as well. A second jump, Tex is really microing his Termagants well here. Trying to keep at least one squad away from the other two, forcing the assaults to focus on just one squad at a time, not giving him the opportunity for a very damaging Merciless Strike and being able to kite very well. Again, just the three Hormagaunts constantly harassing this power node, getting scared off by the Scouts. Scouts gonna go ahead and do a brief patch-up job on there. Hamduck really just trying to keep up with the tech. We can see Texaneous has brought in a Gene Stealer Brood as well. It'll be interesting to see what these end up doing. He's already upgraded his first Warrior Brood with the Barbed Strangler, so not going to be getting the Adrenal Gland HP boost that we normally see used in conjunction with the Gene Stealers. So we'll see if Texaneous does end up bringing another squad onto the field. Hive Tyrant's charged up, and Hamduck had a nice defensive position set up with his bolter, but the Hive Tyrant went ahead and saw to that. Now, it looks like Stimpaks on the field. You can see those yellow circles around the Assault Marines, and they're just going to shred into that Gene Stealer Brood right now with those Stimpaks activated. They're going to have to get out of there very low on HP, but he does manage to... Oh, he did lose a member, but scared off the Gene Stealers. The heal was just a second too late. The Hive Tyrant chasing a little bit too far. Tex may have lost track of him. Looks like he's in a bit of trouble. Going down to... Well, he's got 40 HP left. He might still get out of there. Meanwhile, Tex sitting with the Termagant Broods up here, leaving them together. You can see he's actually establishing a pretty good two separate forces here. He's got his nice ranged pile here, and now with the Hive Tyrant and the Gene Stealers, he's got a pretty reasonable melee force with the support of the Barbed Strangler, keeping the range damage down and keeping the enemy units from moving around too much. That's going to be two very different threats that Hamduck is going to have to deal with right now. Tex doing a good job backdooring some power right now. Going to force Hamduck to react to that. And Tex pushing on in to Tier 3 right now, leaving Hamduck in the dust as far as Tech is concerned. The Assault Marines jumping in once again. Tex is satisfied with the damage he did to that power farm. Going to just go ahead and get out of there without taking any losses. You can see Tex is really minimizing his wreck output. He's floating a whole bunch, and these Hormagaunts staying at 3 members, going back in to harass that power once again. And that's minimal micro for him. All he has to do is send them down there, and Hamduck has to keep an eye on these Scouts whenever he sends them down to try to prevent that power from getting decapped.
Scouts here.
So excellent play, constant harassing by Tex on just all sides of the maps. That's really what you want to try to do against Space Marine, is keep their forces split up, because really when Space Marine are in a big pile, especially with that Apothecary and the Librarian's supporting abilities, that's just the last time you want to fight them. So you can see the Hive Tyrant and the Gene Stealers moving in here, scaring off the Librarian. The Hive Tyrant does have to back off, and an excellent jump by the Assault Marines, saving that Librarian. Excellent play once again. by Hamduck. Looks like the Hormigons did finally destroy that power node and are falling back. Hamduck putting it immediately back up, does not want to lose that power. He knows he's already behind in tech, and he really needs to keep as much power as he can on the map right now to keep this going. So meanwhile, the Tacs have been moving around on the top of the map, using their double capture rate to their advantage. These few points up here nice and close together, so you don't have to walk around too much with the very slow tactical marines. Scouts and Assault Space Marines pushing back the Termagon blob once again. Oh, and a grenade that didn't quite hit anything. It actually came a little close to hitting those Assault Marines. But no big deal. Those Assault Marines are very much out of position right now. The Hormigons have been upgraded with their Rending Claws. And a nice charge by the Hive Tyrant, knocking those Assaults back into those Gene Stealers. But actually, it looks like only one model went down, all very low HP, but just managed to get the single Assault Space Marine models. And the Librarian using his Psychic Hood, Gate of Infinity there to make sure that they didn't encounter any more loss right there. A little late, but better than never. A lot of players don't think to use that ability on retreat. The Tacs have meanwhile upgraded with their Sergeant and Plasma Rifles, gone ahead and decap Tax's power, so given Hamduck a little chance to go ahead and even out the score here, but they are retreating right through the Gene Stealer broods. Looks like Veil of Time cast on them to get them out of there a bit quicker. And the Gene Stealers may have a little bit of trouble dealing with the Librarian, Apothecary, and the Scouts. We have a call-in. We'll see what it is here in a second. Looks like it's a Warrior Brood. There it is. I was probably expecting a second Warrior Brood. Those will probably get the Adrenal Glands to synergize well with the Gene Stealers. But they are taking a lot of damage. Oh, an excellent AoE attack in the form of both a Merciless Strike and a Smite from the Librarian. There were no stim packs on any of those, unfortunately. I was expecting normally you see the stim pack on that Smite or the Merciless Strike for some excellent ranged or AoE damage on the nearest squad, but not quite having the time to get that off.
Scouts ready.
So good defensive placement of that Bolter certainly helped control that engagement, and Hamduck finally moving into Tier 3 now along with Tex. Another Assault Jump landed right in that pile, going to try to probably engage those Barb Stranglers. There's another Merciless Strike. Barb Strangler doing some nice damage to those Scouts, and a grenade right on top of those Warriors. Oh, actually, did that not go off? That's interesting. I saw the grenade fire, but it didn't explode. That's weird. I've never seen that. So, anyways, possibly a glitch grenade there. Not sure what happened. That was a bad call on my part. And here's just, you can see now Tex very definitively split into a ranged pile and a melee pile. So two very different threats. This melee pile with the Hive Tyrant is pretty much all Tex needs to deal with his Devastator right now, though. You can see all the Smite just as the Gene Stealers got the melee rush, so they got out of that at just the right time. And Tex just really not intending to kill anything here, but just keeping Hamduck stuck in his base while the rest of his squads break power and take the map, it looks like. That power node goes down up there just as Tex is forced to retreat. But you can see Tex ultimately taking no losses here. So a great push by Tex, no casualties, just going for some map control right now. And forcing Hamduck pretty much back into the support of his base turrets right there. Again, you can see the Devastator setting up a great arc here, protecting his side from both the middle and the lower entry points to that VP. Oh, and the Barb Strangler in a lot of trouble right here. Looks like it had to retreat through quite a few Space Marines. The Librarian got a special attack there, may have saved that Barb Strangler blue. But in the meantime, the Assault Marines are trying to just keep these Termagants away from the power. The Termagants keep coming in and sniping lone generators, while Tex has Hamduck distracted with his melee and various other threats down bottom. So Hamduck having all kinds of resource right now. Lots of red, lots of wreck, lots of power. Not sure if he's waiting for a Terminator call-in, or maybe is obviously not building a Predator, or he would have done that by now, unless his micro is a bit off. A Land Raider would be a curious choice right now. That seems to be the only other unit that he wouldn't have called down at this point. but it's very possible he may just be waiting to call in the Terminators during a battle. But I feel like Terminators with heavy flamers right now, or a Predator, or at this point maybe 2 Predators, would just put him in a very good position to deal with Tex right now. Tex is tier 3, so you know. Oh, speaking of, I wasn't watching his production queue. I was going to say he's probably building a Carnifex, but no, he has a Swarm Lord, adding some nice auras to this excellent melee pile he's got here. You can see that Devastator is not even sticking around to mess with that. And the Gene Stealers and Adrenal Gland Warrior Brutes. In addition, Angels of Death fired off, and the Hive Tyrant is also invulnerable, changing his armor out to the Bonded Exoskeleton, giving him a brief bit of invulnerability, but it looks like he's in trouble on retreat. He does go down. The Synapse knocks those Gene Stealers down for a brief moment, but unfortunately it doesn't look like Hamduck's going to be able to take care of this. And as we can see, it looks like Hamduck is getting himself a Land Raider Redeemer. Not sure if that's the best choice, but the on-the-field reinforcement may help him out pretty well. We'll have to see how that works out, but there is a lot of heavy melee on the field, so he's going to have to be very careful, especially with the Swarm Lord hanging out. Again, the 3 Termagon squads just being used to not even engage the enemy at this point with all that melee, but just being used to capture the map and harass as much as possible. Adrenal Glands now moving in on the power farm with the Swarm Lord. Hamduck's going to have to get out here pretty soon. He's at a pretty severe victory point disadvantage right now. About 150 points down, and double cap against him. So the Apothecary is going to go ahead and grab the point and bring in the rest of the army to try to push these Nids away from the power. So the Land Raiders on the field. Here it comes, slowly moving in. Looks like the Hive Tyrant is going to try to push in on this victory point. But seeing the Land Raider, he's going to go ahead and start hitting away at that with his Crush Claw right now. But he needs to be very careful. He's not going to be able to deal with that on his own. Probably just trying to get some initial damage and knock down some of that immense HP on that Land Raider. So the Nids now just swarming around together. We can see, where's that Warrior Brood hanging out at? There it is, down here at the bottom with the Hormagaunts. And looks like Hamduck's just trying to make a nice little offensive push here with his Land Raider. Looks like a fully upgraded Librarian as well with his Force Staff, Psychic Hood, and Tome of Time. Unfortunately, the Assault Marines and the TAC's not going to be able to deal with all this melee on their own. Surprised I haven't seen this Devastator upgrade to Las Cannon yet. I guess he still wants the suppression for all this melee. But at this point in the game, I think he needs to try to start worrying about that Swarm Lord. All the buffs being given to the Adrenal Gland Warriors and the Gene Stealers. Unfortunately, with the Land Raider support, not quite pulling it out. Swarm Lord's going to go ahead and just start hacking away at this tank. He knows they can't do too much damage to it yet. Tex is certain that he can leave it in there and just start picking away at this Land Raider right now. Hormagaun's trying to harass these scouts and keep them from repairing, but they are very low right now. They need to get out of there. There they go at the last second. And a good back cap by the Barbed Strangler, but the Assault Space Marines are going to have nothing of it. They are in a bit of trouble. Looks like one model goes down, and second to follow. Not really going to be able to finish that off, though. So we can see the Swarm Lord with his slightly smaller Hive Tyrant buddy here, just constantly harassing this Land Raider with the Bonded Exoskeleton and, of course, the vehicle armor of the Swarm Lord. Hamduck just does not have much he can do about that right now. The Swarm Lord is down to about half health, unfortunately. So the Land Raider is going down a bit quicker, though. The Scouts finally getting an opportunity to repair now that the Hive Tyrant is retreating and the Swarm Lord is falling back. No Meltas on the Assault Marines either yet. You would think that Hamduck would have chosen to get some sort of upgrade here to deal with this vehicle, but nothing there yet. You can see a huge pile moving in on this Devastator. Tex knows that he has his opponent down to very few VPs, and he's just going to attack wherever that Land Raider isn't. You can see he's keeping the majority of his forces away from it, and he was using just a Swarm Lord and a Hive Tyrant to harass that Land Raider and its forces. But now these Assault Marines in a lot of trouble. An excellent smite, but not quite doing too much damage there at this point. Angels of Death used once again, and a Force Barrier as well. Unfortunately, not being able to get too much damage in. This Devastator in a bit of trouble. It's going to retreat. Looks like it's going to get out of there. And meanwhile, the Land Raider once again moving in. Got a little HP back and trying to deal with the mid swarm. You can see Tex has a crazy pile of resource right now, so if he does lose that Swarm Lord, he can probably soon build another or a Carnifex. Really, at this point, Hamduck just needs to worry about these VPs. He's ticking down slowly. Not much left he can do. That Adrenal Gland Warrior Brood once again getting knocked back. The Gene Stealer is not losing a model yet. And this Hive Tyrant just constantly moving in and harassing the Land Raider. Probably going to pop that Invulnerability Shield again and just do as much damage as he can while the rest of the swarm runs around the map. Barbed Strangler getting pushed off by the Apothecary there, and the Tactical Marines up top. He needs to move this Land Raider back. He's doing it a bit too slowly, unfortunately. That Hive Tyrant did get pushed off. His invulnerability wore off, but I think he's going to need to keep that Land Raider back for a while and maybe just use it to hold at this victory point while the scouts repair it. Fortunately, it looks like he didn't quite tell them to do that yet, so he's losing valuable time on getting that back up to power and onto the field. Hamduck, you can see very low requisition income right now, so probably not going to be bringing Termies on the field anytime soon. At 86 of 100 population. Tex bringing now a Zoanthrope onto the field to max himself out at 100 population, so he'll have his full possible mid army on the field at this very moment. And you can see he even left a Venom Cat or a Barbed Strangler Warrior Brood down to be able to purchase that. So that'll bring some nice artillery fire on the field as well as some nice HP regen on the field to his troops combined with that Swarm Lord.
At your command.
Speaking of the Swarm Lord, we're down bottom once again. All the heavy melee moving in on this Land Raider, and I would have used that Swarm Lord probably to stop that Devastator. It's actually been pretty good of Hamduck. I questioned his choice to not upgrade this Devastator to Lazen. Oh, unfortunately, one Gene Stealer got around that suppression arc and managed to engage, but the Assault Marines jumping right in with their stim packs activated and knocking out some warriors, and those Gene Stealers just barely getting out of there with 2 members left. So up top we can see the Tactical Marines in a bit of trouble. Hopefully Hamduck's watching those. Oh no, they go down! Oh, and the Devastator looks like it went down as, or sorry, not the Devastator, the Land Raider went down up here. And this last Devastator Marine trying desperately to escape from the lumbering Swarm Lord. Looks like he might actually get out of there, but he will be able to chase in the base. And I don't think... Yep, there he goes, the last strike. Wow, Hamduck just lost a lot. He lost his scouts, his Tactical Marines, and his Devastator, along with the final few shots on the Land Raider from that Swarm Lord. Really not looking good for Hamduck right now. Here comes a Terminator call-in. That should certainly help. Here it comes, that Zoanthrope getting out of there right away. The Assault Marines taking all kinds of fire. Level 4 now though, so not really caring at all about these Termagants. And looks like 1 member, or 2 members of that one squad just barely got out of there, but lots of hurt on those Termagants. You can see all 3 squads very low. And the Swarm Lord though, still in great health right now. So, unfortunately, I was applauding Hamduck's use of that Devastator, but unfortunately it looks like he just needed something to deal with this vehicle, because that Swarm Lord hunted down all kinds of stuff. This Librarian's extremely low HP. I don't know. Oh, the Force Barrier's not going to do anything because the Hive Tyrant is still behind him. Unfortunately, once you activate that Force Barrier, there's really nothing you can do to get that Librarian until it's done casting. Meanwhile, we can see the Hive Tyrant getting some hurt from the Assault Marines and the Librarian, but I don't think they're going to be able to win that fight. And it looks like the Terminators are also extremely low on HP. Hamduck finally managed to get the VPs back, but at what cost? We're about to see. It looks like this Swarmlord is going to be able to chase them right into the base. He may be going for a teleport into base, but oh, it looks like that's the game. Hamduck was down to nothing but a squad of Terminators. The Assault Marines did die up top. Looks like trying to capture this point. You can see the distinctive red helmet of the Ultramarine Assault Sergeant right there, laying down in his final resting place, and just you can see just this is a Nid Swarm if I ever saw one. 3 Termagon squads, a couple warriors, a Zoanthrope, and a bunch of melee as well over here. Just 2 complete, you know, this is what you normally see on their own, and Tex just went all out, was able to hold the map and get everything onto the field. Hamduck was doing pretty well, but he kind of lost it there at the end. Was about to get a good push on the VPs, but unfortunately lost all his squads in the process. So, excellent game. Lots of good play from both sides. Tex pulled ahead on this one. That'll be it for me. This is Red-Rupee signing off. Hope you enjoyed the game. I'll catch you guys next time.